Good morning, students. So, last audio clip I have discussed about the different factors that promoting growth of nationalism, like the economic exploitations, repressive colonial policies. So, today we'll discuss about the socio-religious reform movement. So, that's why I have brought some of the picture of social reformers like the Gopal Hari Deshmukh, Swami Vivekananda, Raja Ram Mohan Rai, Jyotiba Phule, Swami Dayanand Saraswati, Ramakrishna Paramahansadev, Vivekananda, Vidyasagar, their pictures. You can see the pictures. Once you get these impressions or this spirit of reformers, so let's start socio-religious reforms movement. Socio-religious reform movement of the 19th century was great pioneers of Indian nationalism. Means socio-religious movement was started in 19th century, and the impact of the Western education which laid the rational and humanitarian and scientific approach in the life. So Western education was one of the cause to spread the rational and that humanitarian and scientific approach in the societies, and that shifted as a socio-religious reform movement in our country. Next, the Indian peoples made they become educated and they realize the need of reform their religions and societies. They feel that the path of progress lay in the acceptance in the best of the East and West. The result of the path of socio-religious movement, reform movements touching almost every segment of Indian societies, poor or rich, whatever. Socials and in the social sphere, this movement worked at the abolition of the caste systems, child marriage, dowry systems, purdah systems, sati and infanticide. All the cases, the reform movements worked specially, and they launched the crusade against of the social legal inequalities. Whatever the inequalities was there in the societies, they worked against them. In the religious sphere, this reform movement combated religious superstitions, attacked idolatry, polytheisms, hereditary priesthood. That societies was full of superstition and full of illegal or injustice thought and ideas. The socio-religious reform movements changed and purified that societies by their reforming movement or reformations. The prominent leaders to reform the societies, there was Raja Ram Mohan Rai, who founded the Brahmo Samaj, Swami Dayananda Saraswati, who founded Arya Samaj, Swami Vivekananda, who founded Ramakrishna Missions, Jyotiba Phule, who founded the Satya Sadhak Samaj. So we'll discuss about the Raja Ram Mohan Rai, and he was a great reformer in 19th century, and in 1828 he founded the Brahmo Samaj. Afterwards it called as Brahmo Samaj. Brahmo Samaj first was Brahmo Sabha, then afterwards Brahmo Samaj. And Brahmo Samaj believed that monotheism means worship of one god. It condemned of the idol worships and laid emphasis on prayer, meditations, believe on the prayer, meditation, and charity, morality to strengthen the bonds of unity between the man and men of all religions and creeds. So, what was the main focus of the Brahmo Samaj in prayer, meditation, and charity and moralities? Next, Ram Mohan Rai was against of the rigidity of the caste systems. All the reformer against of the caste systems. He is also abolished the Sati system, Purdah system, tried to abolish the Purdah systems, and he also come against of the polygamy, child marriage, and also he also support the widow remarry systems. It was because the efforts made by the Rammohn Rai that William Bentinck and the Governor General of India he passed the law in 1829 making the practice of sati illegal and punishable by law. So 1829 Raja Rammohn Rai with the help of the William Bentinck abolished the sati systems from our societies. In the word of Rabindranath Tagore, a great poet, great writer, also told Raja Rammohn Rai as the father of Indian Renaissance and prophet of Indian nationalism. So that name was given by Rabindranath Tagore, the father of Indian Renaissance and prophet of Indian nationalism. You have to remember. Next, Jyotiba Phule. In 1854, he established a school of untouchables and started the private orphanage for the widows. And he also wanted the liberate and depressed classes and make the aware the right of education. So he worked for the right of educations. Not only men, he worked for the women also, education of women. He founded the Satya Sadhak Samaj in 1873, and it was the aim of the Satya Sadhak Samaj was securing the social justice of the weaker sections of the societies. It's very important, securing the social justice for the weaker sections of the society. He also pioneered of the widow remarriage movement in Maharashtra. You have to remember. Here I have given some of the diagram of the contribution of Raja Rammohn Rai and here of the contribution of Jyotiba Phule. You can take a screenshot of both and you can recapitulate the points. Next, the socio-religious reform movement contributed by the onset of Indian nationalism in the following ways. Like the Swami Dayananda and Swami Vivekananda proclaimed the superiority Indian culture and civilizations. Next, the reformed untouchability and caste systems. They all are condemned against of the untouchability and caste systems, and they only spread the ideas of brotherhood and equalities. The reformer taught the people not to ignorance of the importance of not to ignore the importance of women, means they tried to give the same respect of the women and who could participate in the national movement also. That way they have encouraged the people's women in the society, and they protested against of the British domination, and they kept the like the Swami kept the slogan India for Indians, means the term of Swaraj. The reform movement drew their inspirations for the Indian cultural heritage and promoted the feeling of pan-Indianism and the spiritualism. So the cultural Indian cultural heritage, that one was also spreaded by the reformers, and it also increased the that respect towards the country, and it also increased the idea of nationalism. Next, the reformer movements created the consciousness of new society, devoid the privilege based on the caste, creed, and religions. So the reform movements get the consciousness. They didn't give that any concern against of the that to support the caste and creed and religions. They are thinking these are the superstition. So that they kept the caste, creed, and religions beside, and they come towards the all peoples against of the British and took the support of the all type of the peoples, poor to rich, all the peoples, and they started the reform movement to get the that independence from the British. Next, role of the press. The large number of the newspaper was started in the later half of the 19th century, like the Amrit Bazar Patrika, Bengali, then Tribune, Pioneer, Times of India, Hindu, and Statesman in English. Many other newspapers, also magazine, also vernacular language were also brought out. and the significant role of the developing the strong national sentiment among the Indians. So the reformers, socio-religious reform movement, the which are the reformer worked for this movement, their work, their views, their aims, all the things was published in this newspaper, and that idea spreaded all over the country, and that's why it increased the sentiment among the Indians. Next, it was through the press and the message of the patriotism of the modern liberal ideas, liberty, freedom, equality, home rule, and the independence. Home rule means Swaraj, spread among the people. That press only brought the messages of patriotism. The press carried the daily criticism of the unjust policies on the British government in India and exposed the true nature of the British rule in India. So, about the unjust policies of the British government, it was also expressed in these newspapers. So, Indian peoples become more conscious about their countries. Next, it made the possible an exchange of views among the different social groups from the different parts of the countries and organism the political movement. Of course, it become the communication medium. Newspaper become the communication medium. People can express their views, and it can spread it to the all over the countries, and the other social group, different social group, they can understand the views and try to spread their views all over the countries. Next, it made the Indians aware what was happening in the world, and this awareness helped them to understand the political and social development of the outside of the world and shape their own policies and programs. Depend on the that information, depend on the social and political incidents, whatever happening outside. That incidents also influence the common peoples and Indian peoples to go with the path, that path, follow that path of bringing the independence and come against of the British, and the demand of the other peoples and other peoples of the from the different countries also encourage them to bring the nationalism, bring the ideas of nationalism inside of the countries. So role of the press also have given as a diagram, so you can recapitulate it from here. So for today, thank you. And one more that paper I have downloaded it. You can see this was the Amrita Bazar Patrika, and it is also spreading the nationalism idea in our countries. Okay, thank you. Bye.